My name is Lorna Lancaster and I'm an artist specialising in equestrian art and pan pastels. This is a painting I'm doing of a dapple grey Arab named Kruger. I'm using Pan Pastels on mount board primed with Art Spectrum Colorfix in burgundy and a touch of white. I took this colour inspiration from the roof tiles in the photo, which also echo the colours of the horse, so I felt it was quite a good choice. Choosing a background colour for pastels is always a daunting task, so I will explore this more in a future video. I tend to use Pan Pastels exclusively these days, with the Pan Pastel Sofft Tools, which come in 4 different shapes. I mainly use number 2 soft tool, which is the flat-ended one. There are also different sponge applicators, but I tend to mainly use the palette knife tools, just out of habit, as I've become so comfortable with them and I know how they behave. To me, they're very similar to oil painting with brushes, but with a dry medium. I will do a separate video on the soft tools and also videos about different surfaces and papers and priming a surface like this one. In this painting, I'm using shades of purple, purple grey, pink and burnt sienna. Sometimes I'll add black if I want to darken further. I'll do a separate video on how I mix colours on the applicator and on the surface I'm working on. I've abstracted the background rather than detail it so that it harmonises with the colour I've used for the horse. I'm creating the dapples by looking for shapes and using the round-ended soft tool. I tend to avoid white for my lightest colours and I go for the light tints of all the colours I'm using. I'll do a separate video about pan pastels and all the shades they come in. I'm trying to look for shapes when I paint and avoid too much blending and detail. I love pan pastels. It's so much like oil painting without the clean up and drying time. I did a photo shoot of Kruger many years ago and have enjoyed painting him many times over the years from the many photos that I took of him. You can see more on my website. There's a link in my bio for this. I tend to work all over my paintings rather than from top to bottom or concentrating on one small area at a time. That way I can see it coming together as a whole. A painting like this would take me several days to complete. I'll also be doing some videos of how I draw my subjects and how I scale up from my photograph. So please do like and subscribe to see new videos about working in pan pastels coming out regularly. I'm working from a photo, so as with painting from life, I'm just observing as much as possible and making my marks and shapes. I work standing up at my easel so that I can step back regularly and squint at the painting to make sure I'm getting things in proportion and in the correct place and see whether the painting is working overall. I'm looking for colours and shapes, not detail at this stage. Finer details will come at the end. I never use black alone because shadows will always have colours in them, but you can darken by adding black. You can see under his back legs that I've added black to create a darker purple grey. Working on a coloured surface gives me a sense that the painting has already started, so I'm not working on a plain white blank surface, in the same way that many oil painters tone their canvases for the same reason, and a mid-tone will help you find your light and dark tonal values. I never work on a white surface. Some pastel artists do, but it doesn't work for me. Sometimes the darker the surface, the better. Pan pastels are more vibrant, but generally I work on a mid-tone like this one. I've used this colour for several of my paintings. In the area of shadow that his head is creating on his body, I'm using a dark purple and then I'm going in with a mid-tone grey to vary the shadow so that it isn't just one solid block of colour. So I'm continually observing my photo for these variations. It's all about observation and trying to replicate what you see. Not exact details and every hair, because you might just well print the photo. But for me it's about creating my version of what I see. Artistic licence enables me to edit it to my liking. So for instance, I've changed the colour of the head collar to blue rather than the brown in the photo, just to add a bit of colour complement, and I've abstracted the background. When I put my highlight colours next to the dark purple, I'm looking for tonal values, so I've got a contrast by using light and dark, and also by using colour complements. It's very easy to end up with something too mid-toned, too dark or too light, so by bearing this in mind you'll get the tonal values right. The highlights I'm using here are the lightest shades of warm colours, burnt sienna, orange and magenta, because that's where the sun is shining on him, and the shadows are shades of cool purple, greys and blues. I load my applicator with colour by wiping across the pan and apply it very lightly onto the surface. Some artists complain that their applicators are worn out after one painting, especially when working on a sanded surface. Mine don't. I can use them again and again on many paintings. This is because I use them with an extremely light touch. I don't scrub or rub them, I just lay down the colour. They do wear out eventually, but I get a lot of use out of mine, so don't let that put you off if you have heard it. In the same way that an oil painter uses brushes, when I want to change colour, I wipe my applicator on a paper towel till the colour disappears, then reload it with a different colour, although I do use different applicators for darks and lights. So when you apply the pan pastel, you want to load the applicator thickly and apply as if it were oil paint, as if putting your colour on, then wiping your brush with paper towels and load another colour. So it's the same principle but a different medium. But you don't want to dig or scrub it in or keep rubbing away. That's when your applicator will wear out. I talked earlier about not working in one area, but I do this, but what I don't do is spend hours in one area. After a time I work somewhere else, and all the finer details come towards the end. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please like it and subscribe, as it will help my channel grow, and you'll get a notification when I upload a new video. Thank you and see you next time.